What if depression isn't proof that something is wrong with you, but proof that something inside you has been trying to speak for a long time? What if the exhaustion, the numbness, the lack of motivation, the feeling of being disconnected from life isn't weakness, but a signal, a message from your mind that something needs attention? Today, we're not here to label you. We're not here to judge you, and we're definitely not here to shame you. Today, we're here to understand depression, not as a flaw in who you are, but as a psychological response to what you've experienced. Welcome to SoulShift Psychology. Welcome to SoulShift Psychology. Why depression is so misunderstood. Depression is one of the most misunderstood mental states in the world. People think it's sadness, but depression is not sadness. Sadness still feels. Depression often feels empty. People think it's laziness. But depression is not laziness. Laziness is a lack of desire. Depression is a lack of energy, even when desire exists. People think it's weakness, but weakness implies choice. Depression is not a choice. It's a state the mind enters when something inside has been ignored for too long. Psychology doesn't view depression as failure. It views it as adaptation. The mind is designed to protect you. Your mind has one primary job: to keep you safe, not happy, not successful. Safe. When your environment becomes emotionally overwhelming, when stress becomes chronic, when pain goes unprocessed, your mind doesn't break, it adapts. Depression is one of those adaptations. It's the mind's way of saying, slow down, something isn't right. I can't keep functioning this way. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of overload. Depression is a shutdown response psychologically. Depression is similar to a shutdown. When flight doesn't work, the nervous system chooses freeze. This is not failure, it's survival. The mind reduces emotional intensity. It lowers motivation. It dulls feeling. Why? Because feeling everything all the time was too much. Depression often appears after long-term stress, emotional neglect, unresolved, grief, burnout, chronic pressure, suppressed emotions. The mind didn't quit. It pulled the emergency brake. Why highly responsible people are prone to depression. One of the biggest myths is that depressed people don't care. In reality, many depressed individuals care too much. They are emotionally sensitive, highly responsible, self-critical, empathetic, driven to meet expectations. They push themselves until something gives. Depression often develops in people who carry too much alone, put others first, suppress their own needs, feel responsible for everything. Eventually, the mind says, I can't carry this anymore. Emotional suppression and the cost of silence. Many people with depression weren't allowed to feel openly. They learned early that crying was weakness, anger was dangerous, needs were inconvenient, silence was safer, so emotions were stored instead of expressed. But emotions don't disappear. They accumulate. And when the emotional weight becomes too heavy, the mind collapses inward. Depression is not emptiness. It's unexpressed emotion turned inward. Why depression feels numb, not sad. One of the most confusing parts of depression is numbness. You don't feel deeply sad. You just don't feel much at all. This is emotional protection. The mind lowers emotional volume to prevent overload. Pleasure fades, motivation fades, connection fades. Not because you don't care, but because caring hurt too much for too long. Numbness is not absence of feeling. It's emotional exhaustion. Depression and self-blame. Depression often comes with a cruel inner voice. You should be better by now. Others have it worse. Why can't you just try harder? This voice is not truth. It's conditioning. Psychologically, self-blame is the mind's attempt to create control. If it's your fault, then maybe you can fix it. But self-blame only deepens the wound. Depression doesn't need punishment. It needs understanding. Why motivation disappears? Motivation is fueled by energy. Depression drains energy. It's not that you don't want to do things. It's that your nervous system is depleted. Imagine asking a body with no oxygen to run. That's what depression does to motivation. The solution isn't force, it's restoration. Depression is often a message about misalignment. Many people develop depression when their lives no longer align with their values. They are living in ways that ignore their needs, suppress their identity, follow expectations they never chose. The mind resists silently. Depression becomes the signal that says, this life doesn't fit you anymore. Not because you failed, but because you outgrew something you never questioned. Why just think positive doesn't work? Positive thinking doesn't heal depression. Because depression isn't a thought problem. It's a nervous system problem. Telling someone with depression to be grateful is like telling someone with a broken leg to walk it off. Healing begins with regulation, not motivation. What depression is trying to teach you, depression often points toward unmet emotional needs, unprocessed grief, chronic self-neglect, loss of meaning, suppressed anger, burnout. It's not the enemy, it's the messenger. Ignoring it doesn't make it leave. Listening changes everything. The role of self-compassion in healing. Self-compassion is not weakness, it's regulation. When you soften toward yourself, your nervous system begins to feel safe again. Safety restores energy. Energy restores clarity. Clarity restores movement. Healing doesn't start with discipline, it starts with gentleness. Small steps matter more than big ones. Depression makes everything feel overwhelming. That's why healing must be small, very small. Get out of bed, open the window, drink water, step outside for 1 minute. Small actions rebuild trust with yourself. Consistency matters more than intensity. Why connection heals depression? Depression isolates. Isolation deepens depression. This is not coincidence. This is not coincidence. Humans are wired for connection. Healing happens when someone feels seen without judgment. You don't need advice, you need presence. Depression and identity loss. Many people with depression feel like they lost themselves. That's because depression strips away performance. Roles fade, masks fall, distractions stop working. What remains feels unfamiliar. But this isn't loss, it's exposure. Depression often reveals who you are beneath survival mode. You are not your depression. Depression is something you experience, not something you are. It doesn't define your intelligence, your strength, your worth. It's a state. States can change. Seeking help is strength, not failure. Support doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. Therapy, guidance, conversation. These are tools for understanding the mind, not signs of defeat. You don't heal alone. Depression doesn't mean your life is over. Some of the most meaningful transformations begin in depression. Because when everything stops working, you're forced to ask deeper questions. Who am I? What matters? What have I been ignoring? Depression can be the doorway to a more honest life, not an easier one, but a truer one. The most important truth: depression is not weakness, it's not failure, it's not something to be ashamed of, it's a signal that something inside you needs care, not criticism. Listening changes the relationship with yourself, and that relationship changes everything. If you're experiencing depression, you are not broken. You are responding to something real. Healing doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means coming back to yourself. Slowly, gently, honestly. This is SoulShift Psychology, where understanding the mind replaces self-judgment, and awareness becomes the first step toward healing. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. And remember, your mind isn't against you. It's asking to be heard.